Okay, put your hands up here. Wave them around a little. Now put them. Very good. We know that Dorothy met the Scarecrow and she got him off the pole and she said, "You're going to go with me." And she put her magic silver shoes on to help her walk. And what kind of road are they walking on? Who could say?
Yellow brick.
Yellow brick.
Yellow brick.
Okay, so I'm going to read the last paragraph and we're going to start because now they meet the Tin Man. So the Scarecrow led her through the woods until they reached the cottage, and Dorothy entered and found a bed of dry leaves in a corner. She lay down at once, and with Toto beside her, soon fell into a sound sleep. The Scarecrow, who was never tired, stood up in another corner and waited patiently until morning came. This is the next chapter is called The Rescue of the Tin Woodman. Here's another picture of the Scarecrow.
That looks really weird.
It's an old-fashioned drawing. When Dorothy awoke, the sun was shining through the trees and Toto had long been out chasing birds around her. There was the Scarecrow still standing patiently in the corner. That's the picture you saw, Heath. "We must go and search for water," she said to him. "Why do you want water?" he asked. "To wash my face and clean after the dust of the road, and to drink so the dry bread will not stick in my throat." "It must be inconvenient to be made of flesh," said the Scarecrow thoughtfully, "for you must sleep and eat and drink. However, you have brains, and it is worth a lot of bother to be able to think properly." They left the cottage and walked through the trees until they found a little spring of clear water, where Dorothy drank and bathed and ate her breakfast. She saw there was not much bread left in the basket, and the girl was thankful the Scarecrow did not have to eat anything, for there was scarcely enough for her and Toto for the day. That could be a problem. When she had finished her meal and was about to go back to the road of yellow brick, she was startled to hear a deep groan nearby. "What was that?" she asked timidly. "I cannot imagine," replied the Scarecrow, "but we can go and see." Just then another groan reached their ears, and the sound seemed to come from behind them. They turned and walked through the forest a few steps, when Dorothy discovered something shining in a ray of sunshine that fell between the trees. She ran to the place and then stopped short with a cry of surprise. "Oh!" One of the big trees had been partly chopped through, and standing next to it with an uplifted axe in his hand was a man entirely made of tin. His head and arms and legs were jointed upon his body, but he stood perfectly motionless, as if he could not stir at all. Dorothy looked at him in amazement, and so did the Scarecrow, while Toto barked sharply and made a snap at the tin legs, which hurt his teeth. "Did you groan?" asked Dorothy. "Yes," said the Tin Man, "I did. I've been groaning for more than a year, and no one has ever heard me before or come to help." "What can I do for you?" she inquired softly, for she was moved by the sad voice in which the man spoke. "Get an oil can and oil my joints," he answered. "They are rusted so badly that I cannot move them at all. If I am well oiled, I shall be all right again. You will find an oil can on the shelf in my cottage." Dorothy at once ran back to the cottage and found the oil can. And then she returned and asked anxiously, "Where are your joints?" "Oil my neck first," replied the Tin Man. So she oiled it. And as it was quite badly rusted, the Scarecrow took hold of the tin head and moved it gently from side to side until it worked freely. Can you guys do that with your necks? Is it working freely? And then the man could turn it himself. Oh, now oil the joints in my arms, he said. And Dorothy oiled them, and the Scarecrow bent them carefully until they were quite free from rust and as good as new. Hold on. Sorry. Um, then the Tin Man gave a sigh of satisfaction and lowered his axe. Oh, because it had been like this the whole time. Oh, now he got to put it down. That this is a great comfort, he said. I've been holding that axe in the air ever since I rested, and I'm glad to be able to put it down at last. Now, if you will come and oil my joints of my legs, I I shall be all right once more. So they oiled his legs until he could move them freely, and he thanked them again and again for his release, for he seemed a very polite creature and very grateful. I might have stood there always if you had not come along, he said. So you certainly saved my life. How did you happen to be here? We are on our way to the Emerald City to see the great Oz, she answered, and we stopped at your cottage to pass the night. Why do you wish to see Oz? He asked. I want him to send me back to Kansas, and the Scarecrow wants him to put a few brains in his head. The Tin Man appeared to think deeply for a moment. Then he said, do you suppose Oz would give me a...
Heart.
Heart.
Why, I guess so, Dorothy answered. It would be... Hold on, sorry, I just let Fiona in. Why, I guess so, Dorothy answered. It would be as easy as to give the Scarecrow brains. True, said the Woodman. So if you will allow me to join your party, I will also go to the Emerald City and ask Oz to help me. Come along, said the Scarecrow heartily, and Dorothy added that she would be pleased to have his company. So the Tin Man shouldered his axe, and they all passed through the forest until they came to the road that was paved with yellow brick. We're off to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz. If ever the wizard was. I can't remember it all. I'll get it for you guys so you can hear.
Okay.
Yay.
3 months we're done with the book.
Yeah. The Tin Man, the Tin Woodman had asked Dorothy to put the oil can in her basket, for he said, if I should get caught in the rain and rest again, I would need oiling badly. So the rain is what gets him, right, you guys? Water. It was a bit of good luck to have their new comrade join the party, for soon after they had begun their journey again, they came to a place where the trees and the branches grew so thick over the road that the travelers could not pass. But the Tin Woodman set to work with his axe and chopped so well that soon he cleared a passage for the entire party. Dorothy was thinking so earnestly as she walked along that she did not notice when the Scarecrow stumbled into a hole and rolled over to the side of the road. Indeed, he was obliged to call for help, for her to help him up again. Why didn't you walk around the hole? Asked the Tin Woodman. I don't know enough, replied the Scarecrow cheerfully. My head is stuffed with straw, you know, and that is why I am going to Oz to ask him for some brains. Oh, I see, said the Tin Man. But after all, brains are not the best things in the world. Have you any? Inquired the Scarecrow. No, my head is quite empty, answered the Woodman. But once I had brains and a heart also, so having tried them both, I should rather what? But once I had brains and also I had a heart. Okay. But once I had brains and also I had a heart. So having tried them both, I would rather have a heart. So it sounds like he used to be A real man. Do you guys think he was?
Yes.
Yeah, I know his whole story, but I won't spoil.
I know. I
Yeah.
think I remember it too, and it just came to me. Right.
I half remember it.
Me too. Me too, Heath. But we won't spoil
I
it.
have to remember it too.
And why is that? Asked the scarecrow. I will tell you my story, and then you will know. Oh, here we go. Here it is, you guys. So while they were walking through the forest, the Tin Woodman told the following story. So Heath and Riley, here it is. I was born the son of a woodman who chopped down trees in the forest and sold the wood for a living. When I grew up, I too became a wood chopper, and after my father died, I took care of my old mother as long as she lived. Then I made up my mind that instead of living alone, I would marry so that I might not become lonely. There was one of the Munchkin girls who was so beautiful that I soon grew to love her with all of my heart. She, on her part, promised to marry me as soon as I could earn enough money to build a better house for her. So I set to work harder than ever. But the girl lived with an old woman who did not want her to marry anyone, for she was so lazy. She wished the girl to remain with her and do all of her cooking and housework. So the old woman went to the Wicked Witch of the East and promised her 2 sheep and a cow if she would prevent the marriage. Thereupon the Wicked Witch enchanted my axe. And when I was chopping away at my best one day, for this is kind of brutal, for I was anxious to get the new house for my wife built as soon as possible. The axe slipped all at once and it cut off my left leg. Do you remember that, Riley? You do.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is at
No, I
first,
do not remember that.
this
No.
at first what seemed a great misfortune, for I knew a one-legged man could do could not could do could not do very well as a wood chopper. So I went to a tinsman and I had him make me a new leg out of tin. I see. Who can see what's going to happen here?
He's gonna cut.
Yeah, all of his limbs off. The leg worked very well once I was used to it, but my action angered the Wicked Witch of the East, for she had promised the old woman that I should not marry the pretty Munchkin girl. When I began chopping again, what do you think happened? My axe slipped and cut off my.
Right,
Right leg.
the other leg.
Again, I went to the tinner, and again he made a leg out of tin. After this, the enchanted axe cut off my arms one after another, but nothing daunted, I had them replaced with tin ones. The Wicked Witch then made the axe slip and cut off my head. And at first I thought that was the end of me, but the tinner happened to come along and he made me a new head out of tin. I thought I had beaten the Wicked Witch then, and I could work harder than ever, but I little knew how cruel my enemy could be. She thought of a new way. Oh, and she made the axe slip again and cut my body in 2 halves. Once more the tinner came to help me, and my whole body was made out of tin. But alas, I had no heart, so I lost all the love for the Munchkin girl and did not care whether I married her or not. I suppose she is still living with the old woman, waiting for me to come after her. My body shone so brightly in the sun that I felt very proud of it, and it did not matter if my axe slipped, that's for sure. For it could not cut me. There was no only one danger, that my joints would rust. But I kept an oil can in my cottage and took care to oil myself whenever I needed to. However, there came a day when I forgot to do this, and being caught in a rainstorm before I thought of the danger, my joints rusted, and I was left to stand in the woods until you came along to help me. It was a terrible thing to undergo, but during the year I stood there and I had time to think of the greatest loss I had known, was the loss of my heart. While I was in love, when I was in love, I was the happiest man on earth. But no one can love who has not a heart. And so I am resolved to ask Oz to give me one. If he does, I will go back to the Munchkin Maiden and I will marry her. Both Dorothy and the Scarecrow had been greatly interested in the story of the Tin Woodman, and now they knew why he was so anxious to get a new heart. All the same, said the Scarecrow, I shall ask for brains instead of a heart, for a fool would not know what to do with a heart if he had one. I shall take the heart, returned the Tin Woodman, for brains do not make one happy, and happiness is the best thing in the world. Dorothy did not say anything, for she was puzzled to know which of the two friends was right. And she decided if she could only get back to Kansas in Auntie Em, it did not matter so much whether the woodsman had no brains and the scarecrow had no heart, or each got what he wanted. What worried her the most was that the bread was nearly gone and another meal for herself and Toto would empty the basket. To be sure, neither the woodman nor the scarecrow ever ate anything, but she was not made of tin or straw and could not live unless she was fed. And here they are, the Tin Man and the Scarecrow.
I've seen the movie with my grandma. And
Uh-huh.
she's the Wicked Witch of the.
We did not know about that, did we? Should I go on to the Cowardly Lion?
Yes. Horse.
No.
Okay,
No.
what's the Cowardly Lion?
No. No.
No? Really?
No. Save it for tomorrow. Yeah, one person per day.
I know, I agree. Well, let's do one person per day. Sorry, Heath. Okay, tomorrow is the Cowardly Lion. Boy, that story of the Tin Man. Did you remember that? Heath, did you remember that after I started reading it?
Well,
Look, it's Margot.